Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another scene set in A Death of a Dark Crusade Season 2. On this lovely night, we are not in fact going to blunder a dozen human beings.
Yet.
Yet. Tonight, we are instead going to engage in the much revered tradition of a meaningful thought, as Lucian de Chambre, Knight of Thorns, has been making particular inquiries into the movement of particular occult items. Having heard, and as many can very much attest to a lesser degree felt, the less than savory undercurrents of this city. But we're not talking about the crime. This, sadly, and quite worryingly, goes much deeper. And Lucian is their breadth of friends in particular circles in dealing with the esoteric has been tracking the movements of said items to the best of his abilities. Of course, every now and then something will slip the net. One can't keep track of everything. But you can sure as hell try. Am I right? And so, to get out of this intro and tone of voice and give the necessary info dump for Lucian. Lucian, you have been made aware of several things as you have spent an action taking time and spending some resources in order to or occult resources to track the comings and goings of certain occult items. Most of these are, well, what you'd consider almost normal. You can identify a couple of Assamite and Tremere neonates. Well, a Tremere neonate and an Assamite ancilla, not neonate, moving through the occult trade, trading tomes by and large, and also occult items, some of which are you suspect that they have enchanted to give credence to their value. You actually know the answer in question. Her name is Statira. Has quite a reputation within these occult circles. In fact, one that seems to match your own.
Ooh, I have a rifle. Cool.
Oh, she's nice. Don't be mean. She's so huggable. Yeah, she has quite a reputation. Usually in regards to she doesn't usually buy. She usually exchanges, and usually indulges in off the books favors with people. At least as off the books as they come here. Nothing is really on the books. This is the occult underground. But she's considered a very reputable figure. She's always followed through on her word. She's never let a client down. Her area of study largely seems to be spiritual in nature. Focusing on Islamic theological esoterica and but with more, how do we say, linking it to more Zoroastrian occult texts. It actually fits pretty well, pretty damn well. She seems to actually be an avid collector of occult texts. Even you see a lot of animistic texts also flooding her way. Very, very old. Very old.
Interesting.
Text that involves there is a reoccurring pattern in what she's looking what she seems to be looking at. It's referred to as the ladders of heaven. Usually pertains to spirit dealing, or spirit bargaining, bargaining and destroying jinn and the like. Specifically jinn rather than demons, although they're often considered one and the same to many. Many who are actually quite ignorant, as there are jinn who are good and jinn who are bad. But yes, that's the first thing you find out. Not really relevant to investigation, but something worth keeping an eye on. The second is a little bit more troubling. Or troubling in the sense that it is a crime, but not one that can be acted on by law enforcement. A lot of not vendors. In fact, there is a fringe sect. You've heard of them, of those who still believe in the Zoroastrian, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, faith. Not many of them. And they're not an out-of-town community. They reside all over the city. Kind of in their own corners, as it were. But they do get together every now and then. They very much are a community that still takes the faith very seriously. You know that they tend to collect and hoard texts of their particular faith, largely because they're the only ones who believe in it, but also because not just because they're the only ones that believe in it and such its value is down, but because it is valuable to them because there are so few of them. They don't always sell that much.
Is being practicing Zoroastrian a crime in that case?
No, but there is a great deal of prejudice associated to it.
Okay.
So people usually keep it a secret. Keep their faith to themselves. As long as you don't make it obvious, no one really inquires too much. Particularly with everything going on in the city.
Interesting.
They usually don't sell. What they normally do is they offer to reproduce text for people, which is about as good as having a real thing in this time period.
Mm-hmm.
And they keep the ones they find for themselves and sell off any extras, as well as trying to spread the faith as best they can. But the money they make off of text does not contribute towards that. Rather, they sell that for academic purposes and for lining their own coffers, rather than as a means to spread their faith. They let people come to them if they want to join. But recently, they've had a series of thefts.
Series of thefts, you say?
They're not entirely sure who it is. They've always they haven't identified the perpetrator. They've never got a good look at their face. They never saw them.
From the connections, etc., do I know what books were taken or what writings were taken?
Well, that's the funny thing about the thefts. It's not necessarily taking books, it's taking parts of them.
Okay. That is interesting. And are these books, question, do they share the same author by any chance?
Well, the faith was founded by Zoroaster, but not all of the books are authored by him. In fact, a lot of them aren't. No. A lot of them have a lot of the texts that are being stolen. Are relating to. I can get it up. There we go. Are heavily emphasized on Anhra Manyu, also known as Araman, also known as the embodiment of evil, translated as roughly as the destructive spirit.
Okay.
You learn from these particular believers that the creator god of the faith, there is only one. It's monotheistic.
Yeah, but I actually played a character in another game. I played a Teftani, and all of the Teftani are Zoroastrian, so I actually know quite a lot about Zoroastrianism.
Yeah. So you probably know more about this than I do.
It was the world's first monotheistic religion. So yeah, interesting. That suggests to him that we might have a worshipper of the Dark One, as he's called, or a individual who is trying to do something with his worship or his name, maybe. Which is in and of itself disturbing. I know how Lucian's going to deal with it.
Okay.
He is going to let Ripple through the underworld occult section, basically, that he possesses a rare book that he will, I can roll an intelligence occult or whatever else to find the name of a suitably rare book if you'd like.
That's fine. You can absolutely make that claim. You don't need to roll for that.
Cool. Basically, to try and lure out the thief.
Okay. Is this something you sort out with Oh, sorry. Oh, got hiccups. Is this something you sort out of this particular sect beforehand, or is this something you try and keep secret from everybody?
No, what he's going to do is he's going to. Well, his name is already a big one in the underground or in the occult world. So he's just going to let it circulate that he has recently acquired a new book of rare and valuable portents, basically. You know,
Okay.
something that if this person is actively looking into the dark one or evil spirits, or it's not necessarily infernalism, but in evil spirits in the dark religion or the dark side of Zoroastrianism, that they would want passages from this book, essentially something that will lure them out. He doesn't have it, and he does. I'm not going to make like an influence action to acquire it, but he just wants to claim that he has it, basically.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So
Because his name alone should lend the weight to the claim, if that makes sense.
yeah. So you'll make that claim. Over the next few days, you'll be getting a lot of you'll get people who are interested in buying. I assume you refuse them. Um,
What he's going to say is he's going to say that the book is only here for a short time and that he has already arranged to sell it to a buyer in Damascus, and the book will be leaving in a few days' time to kind of put a fire under this person, that if they want it, it's only going to be here for a short time.
okay. And do you give an obvious location for where it might be?
He probably said, what he'll do is if people come to his house and want to see it, he'll bring them around and he'll show them that it's in a strong, that he'll point to in the middle of his library, there'll be a strong box, basically, kind of thing.
Okay.
Say that's in there.
Okay, you have a fair amount of influence in this area, so people will trust your word because you haven't burned anyone before. So, yeah, people come around, they're interested in buying. You've already arranged a sale. This makes a lot of people very sad, but it is what it is. You can't have them all. They'll probably try and see if they can arrange to bar this other individual a later date. Probably take a trip to Damascus, but it is what it is for the moment.
And then, because Lucian is that kind of guy, every night he will stand vigil, just watching and waiting until
Okay.
the date in which he has said the book will leave. Because he's just that kind of guy.
Okay. What is could you describe me the layout of your haven?
All right, so he lives in the nobles' quarter, though
Okay.
he is making plans to move his personal haven to Riverside to better protect his investment in Riverside, but he hasn't done that yet.
Okay.
So his haven is a standard, very nice, very well appointed, compound in the nobles' quarter. So it's got an outer wall that rings it. It's got a wall that rings it. It's got a stable where his horses live. It's got the main house, and then in the center of the main house is his library, which is a large kind of room under a dome. I'm thinking this building might have been a mosque at one point that's since been disused and converted into a house.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got a dome, and basically, yeah. So the library will have two floors, the upper and the lower floor, that is ringed by a staircase and the balcony that overlooks the lower floor. So basically, Lucian will be standing on the upper floor, looking down at the box where the book is meant to be kept. When you're a vampire, you become very good at not moving. You just kind of stand stock still.
Okay. That's legit. Okay. So you will stand vigil within the room where the box is. and not move from that spot. Maybe I assume you go out to feed at some point.
He has a herd. It's not very pressing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I assume your herd come to you or reside somewhere near you, so you can go.
Yeah, his herd are actually the staff of his house.
Okay, that works.
Mm-hmm.
So you're standing vigil.
Mm-hmm. He'll have had his auspex turned on, etc.
Okay. Yep, everything. It's been a couple days. It's been 40 hours. You're kind of midway through at this point. You know, it's been two and a half nights. It's not it seems to be another night. This is boring. This is very dull. As a bourgeois, it probably makes you annoyed that it's so dull. There's not a ton to do. And this appears to be a night not really too unlike any other. Oh, one moment. This day looks to be this night rather looks to be not too unlike any other. You know, you survey the room, you survey just outside the room. There doesn't appear to be anything going on. As I say this. No, they actually have this. Okay. Until you hear two large crashing sounds coming from the back of your home.
There is that sweet, sweet shing noise as the sword comes out of its scabbard. He will then turn and, moving with bruja speed, go towards the sound.
So this sounds like an explosion. You can actually hear fire roar through the air.
Oh, dear, dear, dear. Actually, you know what? No. You know what this sounds like to me? This sounds like a diversion. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm, it does.
Mm.
He is going to he's going to, with a simple wave of his hand, I'm going to send my childer and my retainers to go and deal with that while I stay in the room to keep my vigil, because I highly think that these that was a diversion to draw me away from the box.
Okay. Yep, you send your childer away. They'll deal with the issue. They'll both need to make courage rolls because they will be interacting with a heavy amount of fire. Okay, that guy makes it. He's fine. And okay, they both make it. They're pretty frightened, but they don't frenzy. They keep a handle on their beasts. Guards also come rushing in that direction. You have a fairly decent amount of security here, just because of how much money you have. A few higher guards who are able to patrol with a regular degree of how how should I say? They're able to patrol in such a way as to not give each other too many blind spots. They will exist because no patrollers, no system, as it were, is perfect. But they're very professional, good at their jobs, and one of them immediately begins heading in that direction. The other lot will not break course, and will actually simply take to the front of the building.
Okay.
Now, reasonably speaking, your house, particularly given the area you're in, is largely made out of stone. There are fabrics within the building that can catch fire, but it's not likely to spread too far unless you're being ostentatious.
He's not actually that ostentatious. He's pretty kind of. The only thing he spends a lot of money on is his books.
Okay.
So, as I said, he will keep watching.
Where is the box, by the way?
The box is in a circle. That it basically, if you picture the second floor of his library is a circle with a staircase looping around the outside of it, and then there's the upper level, and then there's a circular stone banister that goes all around the ring of the lip of the room. He's standing up there looking directly down at the box, which is in the center of the area on a little stone pedestal.
Okay. One of your childer rushes back to you. And he makes to you in a very alarmed voice a fairly stark observation. They could not tell who started the arson. There was no one there when the fire was found. But what they found, and the fire is being put out right now, is some blue blackish hue, which comes across as distinctly unnatural and has many of the guards kind of just staring in wonderment, as in, what the fuck even is this? Considering that fire is not black.
No.
Such a thing does not exist. So this panics some of the guards, and they're desperately trying to put out the fire, but it is not going out particularly quickly, despite the fact that it has not spread very far. However, he says the fire is being handled as least being contained by the lack of flammable objects around. It is, however, covering the outside of the back of your house in a fairly large.
He will.
Like it's spreading more outside than it is inside, to be honest. Because I presume you have like something akin to a garden outside or something.
He will contemplate for a moment. Should I make an intelligence occult roll to identify what the fire could be?
Yeah, you'll get vague information, but it will give you some hint as to what's going on.
Cool.
Okay, one success. I mean, the fire is clearly unnatural, and it's obviously supernatural. And the very fact that the guards have seen this is a breach of the silence, which means they'll need to be contained in some way. I mean, that's common sense. But the success, it's clearly supernatural.
He's going to turn. Sorry, I have an idea actually. Okay. Where's the nearest church?
The nearest church. Does the Nobles Quarter even? Nobles Quarter would probably have its own. It's right next to Justinopolis Mount, though. It'd probably have its own church. It would. It's Muslim majority, though.
Very calm.
Yeah, it's Muslim majority, so church probably. Ooh. I'm a roll it because there is a chance there is one in Nobles Quarter. It's just that it's a very much a Muslim majority city. And only a significant minority, it's a significant minority, but it's still a minority of the nobles are Christian, so whether there'll be sufficient demand is questionable. As a 6. Okay, yeah, I'll definitely give it to you then. There does happen to be a fairly nice church in the nobles' quarter. It's a couple neighborhoods down from where you are, kind of center south part of the nobles' quarter.
He's going to turn and he's going to say to his child there. For the record, he only has one child. He has quite a few retainers. His child's name is Isabella, and he's going to say, "Go to the church now, little one. Ask the priest. It might be odd, but do not take no for an answer. Bring him here and have him bless the water that they throw on the flames. That should help." Someone has gone to an incredible length this evening in order to already breach the silence, so it is that we must contain this at all costs, even if it means that certain individuals must be dealt with in a less than genteel manner.
Of course, my lord, I shall handle this matter at once. She immediately bows and leaves. She wastes no time because you've given her an order, and she too recognizes the severity of the situation. And the last thing they want is bringing some bloody venture or usurper in to dominate the guards to forget about all this.
With that, Lucian will draw his sword, and he's going to hop down into the center of the room, kind of do the superhero jump. He's going to stride to his. He's going to stride to his box, and he's going to say in a very loud voice, "Come now. I know that you're here. In all honesty, a very verbose display. Bravo, bravo. However, frankly, you will have to go through me in order to get the contents of the box. So it is that I will quite happily bow, yield, and how did they say in English? Or how did they say? Sorry, he will be speaking. He'll probably be speaking in Arabic, rather, because it's the kind of the lingua franca. How do they say? Give you the first hit. On a side note, going to spend 2 blood into stamina because I'm expecting a hell of a punch. He also suspects that they're obfuscated, so. Yeah.
You begin to, or rather, can you make me a quick perception awareness roll?
I can. Is standard diff?
Let me check real quick. Ooh. Okay. Okay. That's difficulty 10. I'm not joking.
All right, then. All specs will lower the difficulty by 1, because then you have 1 rank of all specs.
No, this is not sight-based. This has nothing to do with your senses.
Oh, sweet zombie Jesus.
Yeah, this is something entirely different. It's an intelligence awareness check. Not
it's intelligence awareness. That's a better pool.
Yeah, stiff 10, Jesus Christ.
Can I spend willpower on this?
Oh, yeah, you can.
Spend a willpower.
Okay.
Wow, 2 successes.
Someone's in your head. They don't power in though. They're not. You can tell that they're only touching your mind. They're not trying to break in. It's not like someone's taken a hammer and it's like not someone's taken a hammer and a chisel to your skull and started trying to rip information from your mind. Rather than there's no. It's almost as someone is gently making contact with your mind.
Okay.
And
He kind of lets his eyes flick closed, and he will think in his mind as it's being touched. Good evening.
Good evening. You're a bold one, aren't you?
There is a very casual shrug, and he will say, I find that it is when those who languish and skulk in darkness have need to find the light will always reveal itself.
I'll agree to disagree on that. Although I certainly will say I believe you're punching above your weight a little bit.
When I was a child, there was a great horse that my father had, larger than any other beast, and I was told, no, Lucian, you cannot ride it. You are too small. It will throw you. And that horse threw me over and over again, until such time as I mastered the ability to ride it. There is no punching above your weight. There is merely punching until such time as your opponent hits the floor.
How unfortunate for you, then, that this horse can burn your house down.
There's a very casual shrug. Possessions are possessions. They mean nothing. He's also not lying. However, if you were to summon your corruptive hellfire here, demon, or no, I won't give you that higher name, the whore of a demon, you would drop my ability to see you. And the question is, if you can actually fight me in a fair engagement.
That depends, Lucian. What is fair? What is fair to you? Should I go charging in? I suppose I could. It would be a fairly trivial task. Or I could simply, instead of walk through you, just walk around you.
Anything is possible. As for charging in, well, is that not what you've done? Because of the fire, you've revealed your hand. That was verbose. I expected you to have a level of subtlety.
Oh, I haven't moved an inch. I haven't gone anywhere. I have done nothing.
Of that, we shall see. He has his hand, by the way, on the lid of the box, for the record.
Okay.
In that case, come and claim your prize, if you think you can.
The voice takes a moment. And they will make... Actually, no. You don't actually have to make a roll for this. Ooh! You got me.
Was that an in-character statement or an out-of-character statement?
Literally, like, kind of amused says, oh, you got me. I must admit, I didn't expect such a simple maneuver.
I often find the simplest plans are the most effective.
A trait many cling to in their first few centuries, yes.
You see, my dear friend, for the record, you know my name. However, I am bereft of yours. So rude.
Oh, I am not so beholden to such archaic codes of conduct. I have long since outgrown such, well, I would say frailty, but I would consider it such a childish mandate.
Oh, we shall we play at children's games? However,
I can play swords with you, yes, if you so desperately wish for it. I am bereft of a sword, unfortunately. Could always, I could always bring a scalpel, I suppose. That was remarkably effective the last time.
you've
Yeah.
answered the question for me. Thank you.
Ripped that poor nun apart, although I did do her the good grace to at least let her see who was doing as such before taking my leave.
Oh, but you've already revealed so much in this short conversation. I feel as though I owe you something.
You owe me nothing. That is the first lesson you should learn in all this. You owe me, nor yourself, nor those, nor your, well, that is rude of me, nor your two child or anything.
He only has one child.
One child, then.
If you want to give me another.
No.
He will contemplate for a moment as he very casually pushes the box over, allowing it to fall on the ground and splinter, revealing that it has nothing in it. And he will say, however, I only knew of the existence of one infernalist in the city, in the form of what was her name? Mary something?
Mary the Black.
In the form of Mary the Black, and you are not Mary the Black. So, via your arrogance and your statements, I now know that you exist. I know there is another. You've revealed so much in this little conversation. Thank you. Also, due to your overt breaking of the silence of the blood, it means that you've now become a target. You can think, and I have no doubt that you do, that you are I and you are mighty and that none could strike you down. However, did the Bruja not think that when it was that Carthage fell? All pride comes with a fall. You just have to be able to perceive it.
Oh yes, it was a great shame that Carthage fell. My kind was so at home there.
In that case, mon ami, I shall bid you good evening. I have nothing here you want.
Good evening. Send my regards to, well, whoever it is you report to. The prince, I assume.
Okay, I shall be sure to do so.
The touch upon your mind leaves you. And yeah, the fire is contained. Mostly what shot to aid the dispelling of the fire. Or rather, they attempt to, and your guards reasonably stop them because it's black fire. What the hell? Your child returns with blessed water to douse the flames. It doesn't really seem to have much more impact than normal water.
It was worth a try.
It was a shot. It rages for a while. Like, it's clearly unnatural, as in water just does not seem to be that effective on it. Rather, it seems to go out when there's nothing left for it to reasonably burn. But it does not burn the stone. It did, however, when You do, however, see impact marks where there was an explosion, so your house is damaged somewhat. But you can get it fixed. It's fine. But the real damage is to the garden. Oh my god, your beautiful garden is just there's nothing. It's literally ash. It's like it's as if you salted the earth and it was then charred black by fire. Like it is as scorched earth as it gets.
Oh dear, oh dear. When it becomes evident that when it becomes absolutely evident that the fire will be brought under control, Lucian is going to mount his horse and he's going to make his way to the palace rather urgently.
Okay.
He can pass through the curfew without a problem, I assume.
Oh yeah.
But yes, he will make his way towards the palace proper so that he may have a brief conversation with the prince before this all goes horribly to pot.
Very impromptu, but you are permitted through due to the urgency of the situation, and you're an ancillary. If you're a neonate, you'd probably be turned away. Yeah, Chimera meets you. She looks, and she's always looked rough around the edges in regards to her clothing, but even more so tonight, considering you're very much on the spot. She just meets with you halfway in the middle of the same room you met before. She doesn't bother to sit down this time, considering you seem to have a very urgent matter. She simply crosses her arms. Whatever is the matter, Lucian?
My humble home was this evening attacked by one of the city's infernalists, my lady.
Do you know who? Did you get any good look at them?
No, they were old enough to dictate their will from a far distance. However, I had a taste of their power when they rendered my outer wall in my garden to nothing with a single blast of flame. However, I can categorically tell you that it was not this Mary the Black character. It is another individual who is of also ancient incomparable power, who spoke of Carthage as if they themselves had stood on the walls of it.
I'll bring this to the sheriff's attention immediately.
May I make a suggestion, Your Highness?
Of course.
This city appears to have a genuine issue as it pertains the occult arts, as it pertains. The fire that engulfed my estate was baleful. It was black. It represented a breach in the silence of the blood. This individual seemed not to care. They said something that you may be able to elaborate on. They said the last time that they intervened or that they did something of note, it was with a scalpel as opposed to a blade. I believe a physical scalpel.
There's a look of vague recognition on her face. I'll have to confirm something. I'll have to confirm something with the sheriff about this then, as that may be a potential lead.
If there is a suggestion I would make, my lady, in this matter, something for you to consider, as I know that it is something that has been done elsewhere. The sheriff already is hands full with these affairs, and also I have met the honored sir. He is dashing and gallant, and more than likely more than astute in the ways of the destruction of mundane threats to the realm. However, these are not mundane threats. If you would listen to a piece of advice, I would suggest the creation of a new office to deal with this threat in tempore until such time as it is dealt with. Something akin to the office of the Inquisition, perhaps. This is a deep problem, and I believe that from my own investigations, they are planning something these infernalists have been gathering texts as it pertains dark gods from ancient religions, infernal figures, and the like. I believe that this is much deeper a cancer than most would give it credit, and I think that there needs to be an individual or an office designed purely to combat it until such time as the problem is eradicated.
I will consider this. But until I come to a conclusion, it will be under the purview of the Sheriff and the Scourge. Of course, your haven, as I consider all Canine havens to be of their domain, was personally breached. Of course, whoever done this will be put to death. I'll not tolerate such a brazen violation of our values.
He made it abundantly clear, as I use the term he, as I believe that to be the correct pronoun to use in this particular case. He made it abundantly clear that I was to, how do you say, as mon say, that I was to inform you of his best wishes and intentions. He is mocking you.
Considering the utterly reckless attitude this criminal has taken in regards to your domain, I wouldn't doubt for a second that it'd attempt to mock me or anyone who holds office within this city.
Oh, absolutely. As I said, I believe that they are planning something. I believe that there is moves afoot, that the chessboard is laid out, but no one knows as yet when checkmate will be called. From what little I have been able to ascertain, as I have said, they have been gathering books, portents, prophecies, or rather sections of books, to be politically correct, not entire books are there. So I have yet to determine what it is that they are attempting to do, but with your blessing, I will attempt to continue my research to be able to garner you an answer.
Sorry, could you just repeat the last part of that sentence?
He said, but with your blessing, I will continue in order to attempt to give you an answer.
Bar means you have my permission to push forward. However, I would only ask that you share your findings with the Sheriff and the Scourge so that they may benefit from the fruits of your labor.
Absolument. I live to serve. I apologize for entering at such a late hour, but I felt as though you needed to be told. I may require some aid in making sure the silence of the blood is maintained due to the individuals who saw certain vestiges that they were not supposed to, etc.
I see.
I will, in that case, Your Highness, with your permission, take my leave.
Of course. I hope the rest of the evening is far more pleasant for you, Lucian.
I have work to do. It is always pleasant when one has a purpose. And with that, he will bow very politely and make his way out. And I'm happy to call that a scene if you are. Unless there's anything else you want to punch him in the face with.
There is one last thing I want to punch you in the face with.
Hooray! Face!
You return home, everything is under control. Everything is better. Quite literally. The fire's been put out. People are already trying to get back to, there's already laborers who are trying to at least assess the damage. They won't be repairing it tonight, but they will be assessing it so they know what to do. Basically, some laborers and officials from the Masons Guild are basically just perusing the damage. They look concerned. They treat it as if it had been hit with an onager. Which, to be fair, isn't entirely inaccurate. Like, this thing looks like it was struck with a siege weapon. But scorched, in addition to bearing the face of an explosion. And everything appears particularly fine, apart from one single thing.
Mm-hmm.
As you peruse the library, you're just kind of going through, you pick up the box. And remember that circle where you placed the box to begin with?
Yes.
There is now a piece of parchment. There are only a couple of lines on it.
Okay. He will kneel down and read the piece of paper. He won't touch it until he's read it.
Okay. It says, "Thank you for the gift. I do love reading a good ledger. Names are such a hard thing to come by nowadays. Give my regards to Moloch and Troil. It is not signed." Also, you can freely make a fucking. I mean, you don't. Do you? I don't think you even. They are shrouded in mystery, the Antediluvians. So, do make a law check on that.
I can do intelligence, theology, specialist, novice lore, because they definitely appear in there.
Oh, fuck yes. Novice lore, absolutely.
So that's going to be that. Fine. You know what? Fucking, I'm going to spend.
You will miss out one critical piece of information because you don't have the amount of bourgeois law, which would be you'd need 5, I think. But
fucking, I'll spend a willpower. Nope. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 successes.
It is immediately odd that those two are put together. Obviously, Moloch was one of the few enemies in Nodus Law that managed to unite all 13 clans against him. The only event in Cainite history where all 13 clans were united. Which you understand as what is only known as the Bali Wars, although you don't really have a lot of information on what the Bali are, other than that they're Cainite infernalists.
Yes.
You're not sure on the entire mechanics of that because you don't have Bali law. Or what's your Cainite law? What's your Cainite law in? What's your actual Cainite law? Is it 2?
I think it's either 2 or 3.
I think you need.
Cainite. I've got Kindred Lore 3.
Okay, yeah, you do need 4, unfortunately. That's a shame. That happens. This is fairly high-tier shit. You understand Moloch is one of their leaders. The second one was Nagal. Troil's on the other side of this conflict, and you obviously understand Troil to be the founder of your clan in its current form. You understood him or her to have a lot of it states that they dablerized the initial antediluvian, who's known as who you understand to be Ilias, or that is one of their identities. You're not sure if that's a name or an alias. It gets pretty muddled at this point in history. Time doesn't even really flow properly to your understanding it, like at this point in history. We're so far back, none of this actually makes a great deal of sense. It's scattered fragments of lore, and a lot of it contradicts itself. But there is no reason to place those two together unless there is to suggest a connection that you are not aware of, and it is clearly a mockery towards your clan. And it is one that actually places the implication is that it is.
I think there's a way for him. I think there's a way for him to put two and two together on this.
Is stating your clan to be as guilty as the Bali.
I think that there is a way for him to put two and two together on this. The reason that the Ventru went to war with the Bruja for Carthage was because, in inverted commas, they said the Carthaginians were infernalists. That was the reason they gave.
That would require a lot of canine lore, though. That would require more canine lore. Like,
that's entirely fair.
It would require thought to know the explicit reason and how it initially started, because the Ventru wasted no time spin doctoring this entire part of history. Literally the Carthaginians.
I think we know what I'm spending. I think we know what I'm spending my XP on next Destin. Finger guns.
And, you'd need either.
By the way, what do I think he means by ledger?
Well, what does a ledger record?
Names, places, amounts, etc. Has he stolen one of my ledgers?
Nope.
Oh.
So it's referring to something else. It's referring to something that gives them information that is either, from what you can tell, names and places.
He will pick up the piece of paper in his hands. Does anything happen when he touches it?
Yeah, it burns to ash immediately. Can you please soak an aggravated damage?
I can spend a blood to automatically soak it.
It's fire. Oh wait, can you? I know you can't automatically soak sunlight, but can you automatically soak fire? Let me just double check that. So I know you can usually soak damage, but if it's fire or sunlight, let's see. This can be used to soak aggravated damage as well, but not from fire and sunlight.
Oh, not from fire and sunlight. Okay.
You have to roll against aggravated damage.
Okay, so it's what
against fire and sunlight. Sorry, not aggravated damage, but fire and sunlight. Yeah.
So what is the what did we say the chainmail armor gave?
It's armor 4.
So that means he has 5 die to soak.
Let me just
fuck, he soaks that, no problem.
Let me just double check the yes, just difficulty 6 to soak. So yeah, you soak it just fine. Now, you will need to make me a brief courage check, because this is a magnificent burst of flame that is very sudden and very quick and violent.
Yeah,
so just diff 6, because it's not large enough to do anything else, but it's the fact that it's sudden triggers your beast.
That is entirely fair. Okay, so boop.
It's kind of like an arachnophobe just kind of looking down as a spider crawling up there, you're like, oh my god.
No problem. He passes his courage check.
Yep. The fire startles you, but does no damage.
Mm-hmm.
He will hold on to your beast.
He will look up at the ceiling of his library and he'll start to laugh. Insert French laughter here, because people are asleep and I don't want to wake them with rampant French laughter. Lucian is not a racial stereotype.
I'm sorry,
Much.
Damien.
Um,
Yeah. As
but
as Lucian starts to kind of laugh into the midnight, I think that's where we will end our scene.
wonderful.
Thank you, Player, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. We'll see you next time.